Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at and installing the Corsa Xtreme catback exhaust with gunmetal tips for 2015 to 2017 GT Mustangs. This is going to be a good option for someone who wants a very loud catback and a catback that doesn't have any drone at all. The Corsa Xtreme is arguably one of the loudest catbacks that's available on the market. I'm going to call it a full 5 out of 5 on the loudness meter. It's also top of the line when it comes to both quality and fitment. This is going to be a good option for someone who doesn't mind paying for those qualities. The Corsa Xtreme catback cost about $1,650. I'm going to call the install a 2 out of 3 wrenches in the difficulty meter and should take you no longer than 3 hours to complete. We'll go ahead and show you how it installs now. For this install, we used a 15mm deep socket, a deep 13mm socket, a shallow 13mm socket, a medium-sized extension, a cordless ratcheting wrench, and a 3/8 drive impact. Alright guys, so we're going to drop our factory catback as one big piece. The first thing that we're going to do is grab a 15mm socket. We're going to go ahead and loosen these 2 clamps right here at our resonator. Then we're going to move towards the back of the car and unbolt our 2 sets of hangers back there. So we have 2 sets of hangers in the rear here, one here right behind the diff, and then the other set of hangers is actually up by our mufflers. So what we're going to do is we're going to unbolt them with a 13mm socket, but we are going to leave the hangers clipped into the body still. It's going to hold the exhaust up for us. You guys can see that we can remove the bolt, but the hanger is actually clipped into our frame right here at the top. So there are 2 bolts that are holding the last rear hanger in place. There's one underneath right here, and one up on the side. So we'll do the same thing on the other side. So at this point, we're ready to drop our catback. You guys might need a second set of hands. I have Tony here to help me. What we're going to do is Tony's going to unclip the hangers from the body of the car, then we're going to push backwards on the resonator and then release it, and we'll drop the catback. So here's our factory catback laid out compared to our Corsa catback. So there's a lot to say about the Corsa catback, but the first thing I'll say is that this catback, the Corsa Xtreme, is the loudest in the Corsa lineup, and it's arguably one of the loudest catbacks that you can pick up that's on the market. The other thing I'll say about the catback is that it is 3-inch, it's full 3-inch from the X-pipe back, and it's made of 304 stainless steel, which is going to be the best option when it comes to corrosion resistance, and it's also going to give you the longest life for the product. So since this is a 3-inch X-pipe, Corsa does give you 2 adapters in case you guys are bolting up to your factory headers and cat pipes like we're going to be doing today. If you guys already have some sort of 3-inch system in place, you won't need the adapters and you can just go ahead and bolt up your X-pipe. Now, speaking of the X-pipe, this is Corsa's double helix X-pipe, and generally speaking, an X-pipe is going to be louder than an H-pipe, and it's also going to give you a little bit of a raspy tone. Corsa's double helix X-pipe just gives a little bit of a different path for the exhaust to travel through, so it's going to change the sound of this just a little bit as opposed to a standard X-pipe. Corsa's Xtreme mufflers are straight through mufflers, and they're going to reduce back pressure too. The great thing about these mufflers is that not only are they extremely loud, but they also have absolutely no drone at all, which is great news coming from such a loud system. Finally, this catback ends in Corsa's gunmetal tips. So we do have a couple things that we have to transfer over from our factory catback to the Corsa before we can go ahead and get it bolted up to the car, and that's going to be our hangers. So we're going to go ahead and transfer those over now. Alright, so we're just going to pull our hangers off of our factory catback. A little PB Blaster or WD-40 might help you guys out here. And we'll transfer them over to the Corsa. The first thing we'll do is get our adapters in place. So we'll go ahead and use our factory clamps for these. We'll slide our adapters into place and then we'll tighten these clamps down. So now we're ready to get our X-pipe up into place. 2 things that I have ready to go with me are my clamps. So I have 2 clamps on the X-pipe already. They are facing downward so that I can tighten them once I get this installed. The other thing I have here is a pull jack. This is going to help me get the X-pipe lined up and into place. I am going to leave the clamps loose until I can go through and tighten everything down, make sure it's all lined up, but that's going to be one of the last steps. So the other thing to be mindful of with this X-pipe is that this support bar down here at the bottom of your X-pipe down here, this needs to be facing towards the ground. So the X-pipe actually needs to be installed in this orientation here with the bar facing towards the ground. So now we'll get our first muffler assembly up into place. I already have my hangers, so we're good to go there. And I already have my clamp position in place too. Once again, I have this so that I can easily tighten it from underneath the car. So what we're gonna do is slide onto our X-pipe and then we'll get our hangers clipped into the body of the car. So I am going to go ahead and get the bolts in this back hanger here just because it's going to make sure that our catback doesn't fall out of place. Alright guys, so we'll grab the other side and do the exact same thing. We'll slide onto our X-pipe here, make sure we have a clamp in place, and then we'll go ahead and get our hangers clipped into the body. We'll also get the bolts in place and the hangers on this side as well. So what we need to do now is go through, straighten out our system, and tighten up our clamps. We're going to start with the 2 clamps up here, up front on our X-pipe. These are 15mm clamps. We're going to go ahead and tighten these down. Alright guys, so next we're going to tighten these clamps here for our muffler pipes. One thing you want to make sure is that the pipe is pushed up as far as possible, and you can just imagine where the tip is going to be. Before you tighten this, you want to make sure everything is lined up nicely. So this right here is what I was talking about. You can clearly see that this muffler is not hanging correctly. So before we can tighten this clamp, what we're gonna have to do is push up on this and rotate this so that it's sitting correctly. And what I might do is actually use my pole jack to hold this in place so I can tighten this clamp down. So I'm basically taking a peek, making sure my X pipe is sitting parallel with the ground. I'm imagining where my tip is gonna be so that I can get this tightened down in the correct location. So with this hanging correctly, we can go ahead and tighten our clamp down. All right, now we can slide our tips into place. Make sure you have a clamp on your tip before you get it installed onto the muffler. Before I tighten that down, I'm just gonna take a step back and make sure that it's perfectly straight. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. All right, last thing, and we can't forget to get our hanger bolts back in place here. So we're switching back to our 13mm socket, and we'll get these tightened down. That's gonna wrap up this review and install. Keep in mind, you can always check this cat back out more online right here at AmericanMuscle.com.